Mindfulness is often thought of as practices such as meditation and yoga, and many people may not understand the benefits or see it as just another thing they need to schedule into their already busy lives. And when you do have a go at it, you might not be able to feel immediate benefits or feel a bit silly, as if you aren't really sure what's meant to be happening or how you're meant to feel. Now, this is all completely normal, and the reason they're called practices is because they take just that, practice. And whilst meditation and yoga are types of mindfulness practices, they're not the only way we can be mindful. Being mindful is all about being present. And when it comes to recovering from domestic and narcissistic abuse, I prefer to call it kindfulness, because it's not always enough just to learn how to be present. In order to heal, we need to have a trusted method to overcome those moments when we are experiencing negative emotions, or we're triggered by a traumatic memory, or even simply reminded of the whole experience by a simple smell, a sight, or just an associating thought. That is why kindfulness is how I like to think of it, because whilst it's important to bring your attention back to the present moment, it's also important to be kind to yourself. Reassure yourself that you are safe, that you are loved, and that you have everything you need right there inside you to overcome whatever it is that you may be thinking or feeling right now. Mindfulness is the basic human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we're doing, and not overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around us. Mindfulness is a quality that every human being already possesses, and it's not something you have to conjure up, you just have to learn how to access it. That might seem trivial, except for the annoying fact that we often veer from the matter at hand. Our mind takes flight and we lose touch with our body, and pretty soon we're engrossed in obsessive thoughts about something that just happened or fretting about the future, and that makes us feel anxious. When we're mindful, we reduce stress and we can enhance our performance, we can gain insight and awareness through observing our own minds, and we can increase our attention to others' well-being. Mindful moments give us time in our lives when we can suspend judgment and unleash our natural curiosity about the workings of the mind, approaching our experience with warmth and kindness to ourselves and others. It's possible to turn any moment, activity or event into a mindful one, and that is why it's important for us not to just think of mindfulness as meditation, because whilst meditation is a truly amazing practice and one which I absolutely love and quite honestly can't get enough of, but it takes practice. The ability to acknowledge a thought and then let it drift along on the motorway of your mind, all the while having complete faith that if you really do need to give that thought any more of your time or energy, it will come back to you when the time is right and you've got the space to truly process it, is transformational. And it's by introducing these mindful moments regularly throughout the day that I experienced the breakthrough that I needed with mindfulness. A mindful moment is something that you have complete and utter control over. You can choose how and when to incorporate them into your life. No one needs to know you're having a mindful moment, and I find it quite fun to identify things that happen in my life that present me with the opportunity to be mindful. Basically, you identify something that happens fairly regularly in your day-to-day life and you link it to a moment where you spend some time checking in with yourself. Maybe you carry out a quick breathing exercise discreetly, or you could activate one of your senses that you might not be using at that time. There's a lot of advice about carrying out breathing exercises or using sensory stimulation when you feel overwhelmed or anxious, and it's very important to use these techniques as they do work. But I personally find that flexing our mindful muscles needs to happen when we're in all states, because then when we have a negative thought or a feeling comes in, we're well prepared for it and we may have even dealt with it before it becomes too big to handle. A bit like exercising or dieting, it's about small, consistent moments and choices which create lasting change and improve overall health and fitness. Not running a marathon or fasting in response to a thought, like thinking I'm too fat, I'll fast for 24 hours, or I'm feeling anxious, I'll go and meditate. Whilst these acts will help in the moment, they will not create lasting shifts in our overall resilience and emotional well-being. As we found in the last module, breathing has the power to induce a state of relaxation and signal to the body that it's safe to heal and go into that parasympathetic state. And breathing's an important skill when it comes to having a mindful moment too. The square breath that we practiced is a great one to link to a cue. And a cue is something that happens in your day-to-day life, which in the past you may have felt was dead time, but now you're going to start using it to heal. So these are things like waiting for the kettle to boil, or at a red light in traffic, or it might be when you hear a certain theme tune on the radio or the television, or when you see a car that's a particular uncommon colour, or when you see a bird of a particular type or an animal. Anything really that you notice and will trigger you to have a mindful moment. It really can be anything, and with practice, each time you see or hear your cue, you will naturally take a moment to check in with yourself and carry out a mindful breath. Another great breath to use is a simple diaphragmatic breath or a belly breath. And a belly breath is the exact opposite of how society has taught us to breathe, by keeping our stomach held in. This is how babies breathe, and it's how we're designed to maximise the use of our lungs by allowing them to fill up the lower half and push our belly out rather than just fill up the top half of our lungs, as many of us will have been told to do. Belly breathing does take a little bit of getting used to. And since we take 17,000 breaths every day, if you can commit to just 10 of them being belly breaths, then you will see huge shifts in your overall sense of well-being. You could do 3 sets of 3 or 4 or 5 pairs or 10 individual breaths. I suppose it will depend on how many pigeons you see each day, but you get the idea. You see a red light, couple of belly breaths, or notice a robin and then have a round of square breathing. You'll be amazed how easily you can incorporate it into your daily life, and how something as mundane as the kettle boiling can soon be flipped into an activity that has many more benefits than just a cup of tea. Not that that isn't a wonderful thing as well. So to practice a belly breath, just place your hand above your navel and below your ribs, and as you breathe in, push your hand out and up as you take a nice full breath, and then breathe out through pursed lips as though you're whistling. By introducing these moments into your everyday life, you make your entire day mindful, and in doing so, you exist in a parasympathetic state where your mind and body are busy working on your healing at a cell or a core level, and you can focus your energy on self-care and your future, and with consistency and patience, you can find yourself making emotional breakthroughs and gaining confidence in your ability to handle any and all situation begins to grow and grow. It is a practice, but it does work, and so the sense of control that you can cultivate over your thought processes and your outlook can create real resilience. And this is what we need to ensure that we don't ever find ourselves falling back into unhealthy patterns or relationships. If you want, you can build on some of these tactics, so use your imagination and do whatever feels good to you. Pay yourself a compliment during your mindful moment or visualise a certain colour. As we move through the course, we'll explore how colours, sounds and visualisations have the power to heal. So remember to incorporate some of these in your moments of kindfulness throughout the day.